Good hello everyone, thanks for watching another random palm reading. I hope you're all doing well. Sorry for the late uploads, I've had some major technical issues. Now, this person has been emailing me for quite some time, asking me some intelligent questions, and I've got some mysteries to unravel here. They have a Simian line, as in the head and the heart line are combined, they are as one, and this appears to have strengthened over time, particularly much more visible in the right hand, and they would like to know what this means. This head and this heart line branching off were not there as a child, in his own words, so this is obviously someone who has been studying his own palms for quite some time. The doubling of the fate lines here, apparently the secondary fate line here has grown both upwards and downwards over time. It's strengthened over time, and it wasn't there as a child as well. So I'm going to do my best here to get to the bottom of what these things mean around the Simian line and a fate line developing and growing both upwards and downwards over time. The other thing that this person wanted me to get to the bottom of as well is the formation at the end of their lifeline, as they described an arrow formation. I think that's what they mean. I'm not entirely certain. Actually, I see so much going on here. I think there's many ways you could interpret. So again, I'll do what I can here. But before I get into the specifics of the more sort of complex palmar information, the chirology, I'm going to dig a little bit here with the chirognomy, that is the shape of the palms and the fingers. Now initially, just looking straight off the bat, the left hand appears actually slightly more rounded, slightly more conic than the right. The right has a more sort of practical, rigid squareness. Squareness in the palm stands for practicality, reliability, order, truth. Stands for hard work, and just all around being less sort of dreamy, more of that sort of practical approach. And you can see that the left hand here, lunar, appears to be a lot more rounded, so it feels as though this person potentially has quite a strong need to appear quite grounded. Now, perhaps this is due to their job role or their family environment. Maybe they have a lot of family commitments where they need to be a certain responsible figurehead. Venus appears, very well developed, as does Neptune and Luna. And this person's ability to translate their charisma, who they are as a person, and outwardly express this to the world outside, to show off who they are, is inherently strong within this person. There's certainly a need here, a desire to have a career with some sort of audience, and we see this by the fate lines. However, this person's day job may well be causing some issues in these desires. In this, their ideal role is not quite there yet. And fate lines like these are always seen in the palms of people who desire an audience, people who work with others on quite a large scale, people who have a lot of eyes on their work. The angle of proficiency and time is strong, and again, this goes with a square hand really. This person is likely very good with their hands. The Apollo finger appears very well developed, almost sort of bulbous looking, more so than the rest of the fingers. And these three things combined, the doubling of the fate line, the origin of the fate lines as well, this all shows someone who's very good with their hands, very creative. They desire and need a sort of tangible result through their work. They are obviously very, very hard working, and work in some sort of creative industry, an industry where their fortune waxes and wanes. A career line that stems from Luna it's a lot like the tide. It comes and it goes in terms of what we reap from that career. And just how well developed the tips of the fingers are, they're sort of far reaching, they're in search of higher knowledge. This is, I believe, quite a spiritual person, someone with a real thirst for knowledge, someone with a lot of friends as well. We see a lot of upward strokes here on all of the basal phalanges of the fingers. And also notice, there's so much to notice about this person's palms, but just the sheer amount of upward strokes in general, going, all the way across the upper section of this person's palm, this section relating to the mental faculties of this person. So this person is constantly active in their mind. They're constantly thinking, they're constantly learning, they're constantly using their minds. And I would expect actually to see a doubling of the headline. And that is in fact what I thought I saw initially when I looked at this here, but this is not a headline. This is, as this person correctly identified, actually a fate line. And the way that we identify that is by the strength of this fate line, as in where it's sort of coming from, and it's stronger lower down. As it rises, you can quite clearly see it reaching and crossing the headline. It certainly weakens, but it does rise upwards as it touches what seems actually to look like an island, a potential island here forming on this partial sort of Simian heart line here. The lifeline appears actually quite sort of faint from the ages of around about 25 to 32. There's certainly some health issues here, and at this age of around about 32, notice how the lifeline sort of flicks away, pulls away. There was a move here, perhaps late 20s, and the lifeline itself appears to sort of almost be non-existent after this time. And there's this sort of worry, this influence, this struggle, this obstacle affecting this person's flow of energy. Their life's path is obstructed by this obstacle here, and it looks to cross over the fate line here, two fate lines in fact, and it looks to stop this person's, the ability of this person to make money. And this all happens at the age of around about 32, perhaps. But I'm, as usual, getting a little bit ahead of myself. So I'm going to try and explain what it means when we see a growing of a second fate line. And the way in which this grew over time sounds very intriguing. It allegedly grew both upwards and downwards. So the development of a secondary fate line on the right hand is material, it's practical, it's physical. It's what's external and how this event is affecting us. And for me, this shows this desire to have a career in front of others with some sort of audience, potentially in some sort of creative industry that is not as stable as many others, is in some way becoming more and more likely and apparent over time. Reaching downwards suggests that this person is connecting with their unconscious, their imagination, their more abstract nature. The branching and reaching upwards of this line as it develops and grows upwards on the right hand shows that this is materializing. This utilization of the abstract is becoming more likely to earn money, or be likely for this person to earn money from this sort of strengthening of this ability. Now, also an interesting point here, and I must add, this fate line here, this particular fate line, the direction of it, where it comes from, this low down on Luna, this far into the hand, this close to Luna, this precise spot here, certainly suggests this person had some sort of affinity for water in a past life, perhaps was a sailor. And these hands here, they do sort of look like the hands of someone with this kind of blend of practicality, strength. There's routine and order, there's timing here. This is someone who may well have still this affinity for water in that same sort of way that would work well on the sea in some way. And perhaps they do in this life in some ways work with and still have an affinity for water. As for how and why this line began developing, really we need to understand what happened to this person when they were younger. When this line started to develop will yield the real clues, the answers. This line right here, I believe, is providing some sort of resistance. It's almost a sign of unluckiness, a line of milieu. as it's referred to by David Brandon Jones. And it's sort of as it rises and works alongside a person's fate line, it provides resistance, it provides poor luck. But after this time, after this age, 15, 16, there's greater luck for this person. And actually, maybe it's 17 or so, you can see here on both the life and the headline, there's a rising up here onto Jupiter. This need here, desire to get out of their scenario, to rise to newer heights. And this is an ambition, an effort line to make a change to their life and their environment. And that is what I believe happened here. And after this time, this line of bad luck, if you will, is no longer. So in some respects, they've essentially made themselves luckier by changing their circumstances. And it's likely that after this time, this secondary fate line started to grow, and they became more in contact, more in connection with their sort of abstract, subconscious, dreamy imagination side, more in touch with their watery element. So they were likely being in some way prohibited during early life. As to why, I'm not entirely sure, but after this time, this development of this secondary career line was likely always going to happen, provided they always had this freedom to grow. Also, from the age of around about 10, we see strong advancements towards academia, writing and language. Now, at the age of 19, 20, we see here another advancement, another effort and improvement needs here to change this person's life. And if you look closely, you can see where the lifeline and the headline begin to depart, where this person truly sort of leaves the nest, carves their own independence. You can see an island here. This was a very difficult struggle, and this is the reason for this improvement to be made here. Islands or circles. Islands in particular are always sort of obstruction of the flow of energy, of that path, of that line. A circle is something a bit more ominous, a bit more almost cruel, tragic. And this is not quite a circle, but it is a very upsetting island. And after this time, we can see there's almost a sort of doubling of the headline that I mentioned before. This person was working, and for a long time afterwards, working very hard to adapt, to learn to the pressures of their newer environment, this independence that they've created for themselves. They're likely quite a cautious person, and they were probably very shy when they were younger. 24 or so sees this sort of worry here coming from their family sphere, or at least something close to home here. There's a worry. It's a stressful time, but if you look closely, you can see this worry develop. It looks to affect and obstruct this person's ability to make money, and that obstruction doesn't quite succeed. So I'm not entirely certain what this was. It was some sort of problem close to home. And again, after maybe 27-ish, we see what looks like a very faint but steady need again to change, to move from the environment, to make efforts to improve their life. And it's at 32 when we really see quite a strong, profound obstacle here affecting this person's career. At the age of 32, it's more closely related to inner Mars. There's a lot of anger attached to this unfortunate event, and it's also attached to the family as well. Now notice that there's an island here, and it looks to once again impact this person, perhaps 35 or so, and this seems to be an ongoing issue. There's something close to home. There's some sort of family issue, family commitment that's really, I don't want to say holding this person back, that's not the right way of putting it, but there's an ongoing issue here that is affecting this person's life. So 27 to 32, lots of disruption, and again here there's a patch from 32 to maybe 36 or so. This is all very rough. Again, the life, the flow here of energy is not even, it's not flowing well at all. There's likely support here from the family to support and uphold this stress of this influence, and how this person's been affected. What's interesting for me is that this effort, this improvement at the age of 27 or so, that's not a good example, it likely corresponds to this here. At this age, there's likely a feeling of a need to have a more fulfilling career, a development, and a stronger understanding of the self and what they're good at, and how they can turn this in their career to not only do what they enjoy, but do what they're good at, and to make money from it as well. These are the 3 signs of success. And it looks like at this age of 32, this closing of this initial path here that developed when they were younger, it looks like it's sort of run its course as to this sort of primary career line, the career that pays the bills. Still one perhaps with some sort of audience. It's still paying the bills. They're still doing that kind of primary day job, but it's not at the forefront. That's not where they're putting all of their energy into. It's not what they enjoy. It just puts food on the table. Now, this is the job they enjoy. This is also the job they enjoy as well. And it's from this enjoyment that we really start to see success flourish. Now, this is the sun line or the Apollo line. Chosen to use a bit of a different color here just because there's so much going on. I have to differentiate. Now, the sun line or the Apollo line, the success line as some people call it, look at how it branches outwards, upwards. This is the textbook success line that you'll see in a lot of palmistry books. The ideal success line rolls all the way down and sort of branches from the lifeline itself, from that's only seen in the hands of child prodigies. That's what you're likely to see in a lot of palmistry books, although you'll never really see it on a person's hand unless you're reading the hand of someone like Mozart. But this success line here that we see, really, this shows this kind of tree-like success. It demonstrates the strength of success. A tree has to have strong roots. It will grow slowly, and so it's much less likely to blow over in the wind. This person's success has strong roots, and it's only likely to get stronger as time goes by and continually bear fruits. They will likely be able to just sit back and enjoy life and watch the money come in after a time, almost sort of like a passive profit. Now, this is the person's heart line. It stems from the headline. The drooping of the heart line here shows severe upset, disappointment, hurt at the ages where it points towards the lifeline. So 10 and 18 or so, there were 2 particular times of hurt. I'm not going to lie, this is a difficult read. So to see a Simian line in the right hand rather than the left hand shows that the difficulties that come with a Simian line are more external. They are less in the domestic sphere. They will be more in their career. The pros of the Simian line really are this ability to single-mindedly focus with an intensity. Once they put their mind to something, they work at it very well. As long as they're left alone and their abilities are understood, they will be able to really utilize this sort of skill of, this person has many skills. They're both good with their heads and their hands. Head and their hands. They are certainly a lateral thinker, a planner, very practical, as I've already said. They likely have a strong ability to see projects through. They probably don't leave any loose ends. They're highly efficient. This is certainly someone who's a deep thinker. Notice the length of the thumb. This is not a high set thumb. It's about an average kind of where it's set. However, just how far up, it reaches the halfway mark of the first phalanx of Jupiter. This is a deep thinker. And this ability to think so far ahead is likely causing some issues, because when we think ahead, when we live in the future, that's the next step really of thinking ahead, then we are more prone to anxiety. I wouldn't say that this person necessarily suffers with anxiety. However, This person certainly doesn't deal well with stress, in terms of, this is certainly someone who is affected physically by stress. Stress is one of the biggest causes of cardiac issues, of heart attacks and all the rest of it. And this person may well have some atrial fibrillation. It's very difficult to really get a grasp as to exactly what's going on here, but there are some clues. Now, the heart line begins with an island as seen here. There is also what appears to be a square here on just underneath this island, and I believe that this is protection around this sort of inherited. This is an inherited health issue, potentially a heart issue, heart or lung issue, something perhaps like atrial fibrillation. It's really imperative this person avoids stressful situations, stressful people, stressful work roles, because this will significantly impact their physical health. The girdle of Venus seen here is in some way impacted. It's in direct connection with physical health. Their feelings have a direct connection with their physical health, and it may well be the reason why we're seeing a Simian line on the right hand and not the left. This connection with the mind and emotion. This person thinks and feels. When they make decisions, they are also emotionally backed. When they make decisions, they have to know with 100% clarity. And this is the likelihood for all of this sort of questioning, this desire for hunger for knowledge, this real development for searching for truth. And this is the part of the reason why we have this very squareness on the right hand. If this person has become someone who is just hunting in a very practical, lateral way for truth and for information. The development of the strengthening of the Simian line, in particular on the right hand, may well have something to do with a health issue that occurred when they were young, perhaps around the age of 10 or maybe younger, actually, maybe around about the age of 6 or 7. And a heart line that begins with this kind of, well, here we obviously see an island, as I've identified earlier, with this sort of tasseling like this. We don't see it too early on in life, thankfully, but it does show potential issues with the blood, and it all relates to circulation. I think it all comes back to the heart. Where they're at the moment in their life is they've mentioned they are at 42, and that's about this age here, and we can actually see some sort of obstacle here looking to threaten this person's career at this time. I mean, this is not the age of 42 on the fate line, but there's some sort of, again, influence, worry here. This is a practical physical obstruction to their career. It's looking to strike at this time, but I'm not concerned. And the reason why is because the career looks so much stronger on the right than the left. You can see, they weren't making money, they weren't enjoying things. The headline is actually higher, it rises upwards. On the right hand, it's a higher position where it ends, which shows this person is now thinking about money, their future, and planning materialistically. And this all comes back to this wonderful little tree here that I drew earlier. The first wealth is health, however. So whilst this person is probably really good with a deadline, the stress that comes with it is not healthy. Now, some of the more obvious things about this person's hand, which I may not have pointed out, and you probably picked up on a lot of things that I haven't, is this square here. And we also see, well, there's sort of one here as well. I mean, there's just so much going on here, you can pretty much take your pick. And this person certainly has the skills and abilities to teach. This is obviously, as I've mentioned many times, a teacher's square. I believe this person is likely a teacher of some sort, certainly plays this role, and they are likely very good at it. Now, the end of the lifeline, there's quite a lot going on here, and actually the first things I notice about a person's palm are things of note, and the first thing I noticed was this star. Here it is if we look real close up, and you can see that on the left hand, this, when we compare with what we're seeing on the right in the same place, you can just about see it there as well, and it's impactful there as well. What I also notice is the overall squares here. The squares on the end of a lifeline in Tibetan palmistry are known as the sign of protection, and it's an extremely lucky sign. Squares are always good markings. Stars are either incredibly good or incredibly bad. They are whatever you like, however you put it. They are shocking. They are sudden. They are moments in our lives that flash, and they can be moments where we suddenly come into great deals of money, or meet the love of our life, or suddenly have a heart attack, or sudden stroke, or get hit by a car. Something, however you look at it, it's incredibly sudden. Now, depending on where and how it appears on the hands, will tell us. Now, for me here, we've got a star here on the left. On the right hand, we've still got some impact here. It's not as strong, and there's a square that follows up with it. So what I'm getting here is that this is an inherited health issue that looks to impact this person. It's, the left hand is sort of saying this is what's in store. The right hand is also saying it, but the right hand is not showing it as strong. So it's as though this person, what they've inherited, they've managed to overcome this with their lifestyle, with previous operations perhaps, and the way they manage this as well. It's almost like, I think they may well know what I'm talking about, the more sort of imminent and likely health issue that they face. And the square here that kind of follows up with this, what they refer to as an arrowhead at the end of their lifeline. And I'm not sure I see an arrowhead particularly, but I do see a lot of squarage, and it means that they will be protected, guarded, looked after at this time. Now, this person once asked me in a question, as they are ever questioning, would a person with a Simian line also be someone referred to, as I've referred to before now, maybe not in these exact words, with a headline that's seen as a table line? That's what it was once referred to. In ancient Roman palmistry, emperors would look for a headline that was this level, forgive me, my mouse slipped. A headline that this is, with this overall straightness, shows that this is someone that a lot of responsibilities, pressure can be applied to this person, and they will still work in a way that they won't allow their emotions to get the better of them. And in part, that is essentially what the Simian line does. Because their emotions are blended with their mental faculties, they're deep thinkers, logical, practical planners, lateral thinkers. They hone their efforts with such concentrated focus that they are able to work in the heat of the moment, and they won't let pressures get to them, and they understand facts very well. They're very fact-driven, process-driven. So whilst this person certainly would make an excellent military strategist, I don't doubt that, the pressures, the stress that would impact them physically wouldn't do them good. The Mercury finger to me, and I'm jumping back to chirognomy now, it's quite an intriguing one here, because whilst this person is extremely capable of persuasion and deceit, I don't think this is a deceitful person. I think they're very capable of it if they wish to be. They're also there is a very long middle phalange, which really implies this rational thinking. Someone who is with this is more likely to have a job that's leaning towards the business, or at least commerce, and again backs up this sort of very practical nature. And the third phalanx is almost kind of non-existent, and this really again sort of lends to this sort of simplicity of a single-minded plodder. And actually someone with a very short bottom phalanx, as I believe this is what this person has here on both left and right, really it shows someone who is incapable of deceit, in fact. So these, on the one hand, they are very capable, but they are incapable in terms of that's just not who they are as a person. They would never do that. Really, this is a very tricky read, and I feel like I'm missing something here, like something quite obvious. There does appear to be sort of a square on what looks like the second knot of every finger, and the middle phalanges of the fingers relates to the mind, the physically speaking now, the head as a whole, and the throat really. So when we see something, it's kind of a bit closer to the physical. There's this issue they had when they were younger, very young, this potential hospitalization. I'm wondering if there's been a permanent sort of damage to their head in some way. Health-wise, again, comparing the left and the right hand, and I've kind of already mentioned this, I believe this person is healthier now than they were. What I've mentioned down here as well. They've already made efforts. They've already improved in terms of their health, and I think they still will. I think there's still room for improvement here, and I think they still will. The girdle of Venus looks healthier on the right hand. It looks to be, I think they're less affected. I think they're quite aware of how stress affects them, and they've worked on managing this. Right about the age of 57ish is the age I really want this person to pay close attention to their health in particular. There looks to be the possibility of a health issue at this time. And again, stress, it definitely causes digestion issues for this person as well. So I would really actually start pulling back from work at that time. I mean, it might not be possible, obviously, to take an early retirement, but I would just go as easy on your health as possible at that time and really focus on good health at that time. Now, my email address is not working. I don't know what's happened, but I can't read any of my emails. And so there's lots of people I've been wanting to get back to respond to, and I can't. So please email me on my new email address. That's piscespalmist@gmail.com, and I will get back to you. I'm pretty slack. I mean, there's just so many people I'm in contact with, but I will always get back to you in the end with some sort of answer. So if you have messaged me on my Proton palmread@protonmail.com email address and I haven't responded, please email me on my Gmail email address and I will respond. So I'm very sorry about that. I will no longer be using Proton. It's pretty rubbish for me. So that's about it for this reading. I don't feel like I've done a great job here. In terms of what this person does as a career, I've already mentioned quite a lot of things. And I'm just sort of toing and froing so much in my mind as to what this person does. This is such a mixed hand. I feel like they could be anything from a mechanic to, a science lecturer. I have stated, business and commerce. I don't think that's this person. I feel like they have an audience of some sort, and they are in some sort of teaching role. Some people are just far easier to read than others. And this is a very complex and a very intelligent individual. In fact, the more intelligent I feel, the harder it is to read. That's not always the case, and there are a lot of other factors involved. So, thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this reading, and yes, I would like this person to email me on my new email address. Please tell me everything. I'm waiting to hear. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.